All right. Yay, we're here for our talk back with Teens on Stage and Teens Backstage. And the team behind She Kills Monsters Virtual Realms. My name is Meredith, and I got to direct this show and this program full of these awesome humans. So we have some questions from the audience that has seen the show, and they want to know many things about your experience. So just raise a hand if you have something you want to answer, if you want to answer a question, and I'll call on you, and we'll try to get everybody in there over the course of our talk back. So the first question is, how many of you, let's take a quick poll, how many of you played D&D before this show? Okay, yeah, like maybe a third-ish of us. Okay, now raise a hand if you didn't know anything about D&D before this show. Yeah, cool. So I'd love to hear from both ends of that spectrum and anybody in between who maybe had some familiarity, but maybe not considering themselves an expert yet. So regardless, what was it like what did you learn about D&D? What was that like in our process, and how did that come into rehearsal, and for Teens Backstage, how did that inform kind of your process as kind of designers as well for the show? So who wants to chat about that first? Yeah, Sean.
So yeah, I had no clue what any of it was, but it sounded really fun, and I really wanted to learn about it. And Chuck, the character I play, is very, very passionate about Dungeons and Dragons, so I feel like I needed to educate myself a whole lot. And it wasn't too hard. But yeah, I brought into rehearsal just being able to learn about it with people who played it before really helped me get a better understanding of my character. So yeah.
Awesome. Other folks? Yeah, Ray.
So I was definitely in the middle kind of about it. I didn't know everything about it, obviously. I didn't play it, but I did have some friends who did play it, so I knew some of it. But it wasn't really until we kind of, at the very beginning of all of this, we all kind of made our own characters, and we kind of sat down and we were doing all the character sheets, and I realized that it is so much work. And at first, like, I didn't realize how much really goes into it, and that definitely impacted how we kind of made the characters' props and stuff like that, where people invest a lot of time and money into this stuff because they just love the world that they can create and play within. So there was also a thing with Agnes where she started with no weapon, and then she kind of transitioned to having like this weird ruler makeshift weapon, and then she finally actually really gets into it and she ends up with her own sword. Yes, right there, Caroline. Yes, so that definitely was cool to kind of see actually how people get into it and how far people get into it.
Yeah, it's a smart way to bring the props in too, and like thinking through character. Yeah, I know I was really grateful. We started calling Atticus our like dramaturg on demand, because every time there was a reference we didn't understand, you were there to to help us understand what that was like. So what was that like for you? If you want to talk about that, Atticus.
Yeah, sure. I by no means am a leading authority on D&D, but I know enough, and so I was sitting there at times with like spells up on my laptop, being like, do they want this information? And then I always ended up giving it to you guys because usually you found it helpful. But it's kind of fun because I get to introduce you guys to a world that I love so much. So that was nice.
Great. All right. Anybody else want to chat about D&D? Yeah, Jenna, you wrap us up on this one.
So I like I played like a couple times, and I had like a lot of friends who played it, and like my family is just a very like nerdy family. So like while I didn't like grow up playing D&D, I played like World of Warcraft and like stuff like that. So like it helped me a lot to relate to my character because I already relate to my character because of like other obvious things, but the whole nerdiness as soon as and like the first time I played D&D, I played a paladin. Like I played pretty much like the kind of person my character played in D&D. And so like when I like first got the armor and I was trying it on, I was like, this is so cool. I was like, this is amazing. So I like that, like, just like my whole experience of like loving that kind of stuff, like, helped me so much, like, to understand my character, because like, well, I had to like research other stuff to like know the info. I did not have to like do much work into like finding it really cool. Like that was just kind of automatically in my mind. So that helped me.
Awesome. All right. So all of you did not sign up initially to do a virtual production when you auditioned for our original show in February and when you did TBS interviews in March, literally right before everything changed. So, but in signing on to do this again a few months later, how did you feel about that in the beginning? And then how has that kind of either evolved or changed over the course of actually doing a virtual theater production? Bella, start us off.
So at first, I was a little scared and like skeptical about it because like coming out of doing like theater on a stage and everything, like that rush you get performing, I wasn't sure if I was gonna get that same kind of like feeling virtually. And I knew it was like good to like still be acting and still like picking up skills, especially with like now on camera. But like once we started getting into it, I'm like, this still feels amazing. This is still so much fun. Even though we're not in person, we're still getting costumes and props and everything. And it just turned into a really good experience.
Cool. Who else? Yeah, Rachel.
Similar to what Bella was saying, I didn't think it would be as engaging an experience. I thought like, oh, this is a nice way to spend my time during quarantine. I don't see how we'll do anything with it. But then I was amazed to like realize the scope of things that we could do and what we actually achieved. So that was a really cool experience.
Awesome. Yeah, Laura Lillian.
Okay, so I remember I told almost everybody who asked me about it, obviously it's not ideal, but it'll be a learning experience. I said that same phrase over and over and over again, and I've learned a lot about this sort of setting. I've definitely learned about Zoom fatigue, experienced that a bit, but yeah, it's just, obviously it can't begin to compare to performing on a stage and in person, but it is a very adequate substitute, and I'm happy to have gotten to be a part of it. Thank you.
Cool. Peyton.
Definitely going in, I wasn't sure how high quality of a performance we were going to be able to do. And I remember watching, like, the first time TVS was able to, like, watch the, like, live stream. I was like, wow, this is actually so much better than I thought it would be. I genuinely thought it was just going to be a bunch of teenagers speaking, like on a big video chat. We have costumes and we have props and we have a cool animation of like walking and stuff like that. And so I was definitely like, looking back, I wish I wasn't so skeptical because we really did create something that was so, I think that was so amazing and really just redefined like theater during COVID. So yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense to be skeptical of a thing you've never done before and aren't sure if it's going to work, for sure. Let's have one more person on this one. Lara.
So for me, the thing I've always loved about theater is the community that we build while doing it. And I definitely was really scared that we weren't going to be able to make that connection with each other, since it is online and you can't make eye contact, you're not in the same room, and you have to be muted when another person's talking. But we ended up doing a lot that did help us connect. We sometimes kept the Zoom on while we ate lunch. We met up and did socially distanced picnicking. So I was really, really grateful to be able to have this and to meet everyone and to find that. I've still met and some amazing people. And I like to think that they're my friends now. But yeah, so I was really worried that that wasn't going to happen, but it did. And I was really surprised and really grateful.
Cool. All right. So you set us up well for our next question for all of you is what was, love to hear you talk a little bit about a specific challenge that you encountered, whether on stage or backstage, and how did you move through it? What was the solution, or how did you adjust? What did you do with that challenge? Mia, start us off.
I think for me, theater can be difficult at times because of the amount of energy that it requires and like I don't want to say energy again, but like the energy that it takes to create art in that sense, because it's such a high energy, to use energy again, high energy thing. And I know at the beginning in the process, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm just sitting in front of a computer. I am not connecting to people, right? And I get my energy mainly from the people around me. And then I feel like the more we were on Zoom together, the more we like interacted with each other in this virtual space, the more it started to feel really real for everybody. And I mean, I can't speak for all of you guys. I can obviously only speak for me. But that was definitely a really cool feeling of being like, okay, I am connected to these people. I am seeing them a lot of times of the day. Even though we're in different spaces, we are together. And that was really neat, having that energy.
Awesome, thank you. Other challenges? Atticus.
Well, I create a lot of different art just in general. I can't draw, but I play 3 instruments and I write a lot of songs. I've been doing that all quarantine, but my lovely little friend called anxiety prevents me from sharing a lot of that art with other people. And so when Teens on Stage got canceled, was really worried, because part of what I love about theater is that it is art that I'm not creating by myself and I can have the confidence to share with other people. And so it was really nice to find a space where I could create Zoom art and share it with other people. And it was, I really appreciated that. So.
Great, thank you. Laura Lillian.
Okay, thank you. I was about to die. Okay, so one of my biggest challenges was the fact that I live in a 1-story ranch-style house with 8 people in it. So finding a space that would be quiet and have good internet and good lighting. I am in my closet right now, so that's fun. I do the whole show in my closet except for one scene. And I remember during one run during Tech Week, my dad knocked on the door and I was in the middle of doing a scene and like I was not muted, my camera was on and I didn't answer, so he just kept knocking and eventually he came in and he was all loud and I don't think anybody heard him. It freaked me out. I was just, he thought he was being silly. But yeah, people, lots and lots of people all the time who are all very loud. But we've made it work so far, so that's great.
Awesome. All right, other challenges you want to share? Yeah, Bella.
So with the way Zoom works, we are in control of our like entrances and exits and like muting and unmuting. And I know that there are other people that can relate to me on this, but like making sure that we're unmuted when we start talking and like that realization of like, oh crap, wait a minute, I can't be heard. Or the like exit when you're like, I'm gone, but I'm not. So I'm just gonna quickly scroll over and click it, and just the look of fear and just, it's a little freaky, but like we get past it.
I think almost everybody had one of those moments in rehearsal or sometimes performance. Yep. I know, and you're having to do a lot of different things too, because maybe you have a prop in your hand, but you're trying to click your microphone off or what have you, or managing your lights and all the things. Cool, so we kind of started to talk a little bit about the next question, but any pleasant surprises you want to name about doing virtual theater? Like maybe something you thought wasn't gonna work and then it did, but what was a pleasant surprise for you? Jenna, start us off.
Speaking of muting and unmuting, actually. Okay, anyway. A pleasant surprise is for just like rehearsals when you're off camera, you can have food. You can just have food with you and just start eating as soon as you're off. Like you exit and you're just like, I have ramen in my lap right now, so that's cool. Yeah, and that's my pleasant surprise.
There are a few perks. It's true. Ray, go for it.
So when we all started all of this, it wasn't quite known if we would be how we would actually have people operating the show. So definitely a pleasant surprise was how like our tech people who are actually operating and in the theater when we're broadcasting, how chill that environment is compared to when we have a show right in front of us and we're in a dark little room and we have to be absolutely silent. It is in some ways less fun because there's less stress, but in so many more ways, so much more fun because we're just sitting there chilling, talking to each other in between cues. All the lights are on. We're just having fun in our own little party space while everybody else is watching the show. So that was definitely a very pleasant surprise because I thought that we might not be able to do that.
Oh, good. I'm glad. Laura Lillian.
Okay, so back to the fact that I'm in my closet. Would you believe? Like, I move it a little bit to this side, you see my bright yellow wall, and it's the illusion of the camera. You don't know that I'm in this tiny, small little alcove, because I think it looks kind of large. Like, who knows how far the walls go? I can only reach up like this far. I'm touching a wall right here, but you don't know that because you can't see it! Okay, I'm done!
Deceiving spaces. I love it. All right, let's get one more pleasant surprise before our next question. Lara.
Kind of backing off of that one, I'm in pajama pants right now. That's been amazing. I don't have to put on like jeans or anything. I can just be comfy. And also the chat on the side, we'll be like listening to instructions or watching the run of the show, and we'll be like making little comments that we wouldn't be able to make backstage because people would hear us. But you know, the audience can't see the chat, so we can joke around and have fun in there. And that's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, the chat solves a lot of the things on Zoom where you can really only have one conversation at a time. You can't really have those side conversations or just talk to one person, but yeah, that's been good. And this has been the comfiest rehearsal and performance process. I think I would definitely agree. Okay, so we're gonna wrap it up with a couple specific questions. For TBS, the world that has seen this play really wants to know about the animation and the video elements. So if you worked on one of those and want to tell us a little bit about, you know, you don't have to give all your magic secrets away, but a little bit about how you made that, we'd love for you to share that. So who wants to go first on our video and animation elements? Travis, go for it.
So I know that mainly for like the walking scene, it was Alex and I that had worked on that a lot, and it definitely took quite a bit of time, but we split up the work pretty well. And basically our kind of workflow was that Alex would use reference photos and like talk with the people who would do costumes and stuff, and come up with the models. And so he would make those in Illustrator. And then once he said the models to me, like over Google Drive, I would rig them up using After Effects I give them like little skeletons and stuff so they can move, and I tell them to walk and stuff. And we made like little trees and a cave and stuff, and then we put little like digital lights in the space, and the camera would move along and stuff. And it took quite a bit of time, especially to do like on my laptop, but I think that it ended up working really well. And Alex, if you want to
very impressive.
add anything.
Yes. Alex, you want to add to that?
Yeah, that animation was the main thing that we worked on, and yeah, it did take a while. This is actually tying into the pleasant surprise question, but like both of us had we had a little bit of experience with like delving into like trying certain things out with software like animation and video effects, but like we learned so much through this on all sorts of ends, both animation wise, modeling, digital assets. It was really neat. And yeah, the fact that we got it all to work before show, it was just crazy. I can't believe we did it, and it's pretty cool.
That's awesome. Cool. Any other TBS want to talk about like any of their video elements that you worked on and how those were created? Yeah, Nat, go for it.
I know that in terms of putting the video cues and stuff together, we just used OBS in case anyone was curious in the I don't know, audience, I'm not sure. And then for a lot of the other stuff we used, I know that for the comic, it was drawn by Ellen, and then Alex helped to, I believe it was Alex who helped to put it together, and I believe, do you either Premiere Pro or After Effects then for the skeleton? Or go for it.
The comic, I used Premiere Pro to have different panels appear at different times, but the walk cycle animation was After Effects.
Yeah. And then After Effects was for the demon hand or the like Orca Snap skeleton hand, and then the Jello cube was absolutely awesome, and Ray made it, and it was like the best. We were in the we were in one of the theaters, and so we had like, you know, some of the like little lights and stuff, and we stuck a chest. Also, the thing that's going in is a chest piece. It has a little face drawn on it. You can't see it very well. It's just two little dots and a little O mouth. And that was really, really great. We recorded that a couple of days into Tech Week, and yeah, that was pretty awesome.
Getting the Jello cube moment was a very memorable tech moment, because I definitely we didn't show the actors until we got to that scene, and it was pure delight. I love a delightful prop / video / graphic moment. Great. Awesome. TBS, are there any other tech secrets you want to reveal? You don't have to, but anything else you want to add? Go for it, Travis. And then we'll come down.
It was just nice, like working on a different schedule than like everyone having to go into like the building at one time and then do everything like in a room and then all leave. Like I know that the amount of time that I spent like working on stuff and then other people will work on stuff, and some of it overlapped, but a lot of it was just everyone working on their own schedule and doing what they needed to when they could. And that was definitely a lot more forgiving and like easier to work like that than if we had been in person for it.
Yeah, so nice to have the flexibility there. That's cool. Ellen, what did you want to add?
Oh, okay. So this kind of adds into the like challenge part. So since we were all in our separate homes, we couldn't just like walk into the costume shop and ask, oh, who's wearing what so I can draw this, like, and them in their outfit. You kind of had to like figure out a way to communicate through like, I think Discord and just like text messages. And it was kind of difficult because like people weren't in the costume shop at the time you needed it. So yeah, but overall it was good.
Yeah, cool. All right, so we're gonna wrap things up. Our final question is, is there anything that you want other people who might be, whether they're actors or technicians or even other directors and designers, to know about doing virtual theater? So if someone is like, I'm gonna do this now, like I saw She Kills Monsters, Virtual Realms, it was awesome, I'm gonna do this. What do you want them to know? What do you want them to know? Let's start with Sean.
Definitely the one thing I would say is keep at it. I had been doing classes online for acting before we started the show, and at first it was really, really weird and challenging. But I just kept going, and it really helped that Chuck is an amazing character, and I love him so much. But yeah, definitely, there's going to be really challenging times, especially when you're acting over Zoom. But I would just definitely say keep going, because it's going to get better. So.
Cool, thank you. Peyton.
Kind of going off what Sean said, it's trust the process. When we're in the theater, you know that like you're in this, you know your space and you know how it's gonna play out and costumes and actual acting and blocking and stuff like that. And with this, it's not something that's like a gradual, like you just kind of like throw it all in, I guess, if that makes sense. You spend all this time building up with working on the blocking, working on the costumes and stuff like that. And once it's finally, it's not I don't know if this makes sense, but it's not the gradual process where you're slowly incorporating things. It's all at once, and once it happens, it's something amazing. It's just this whole other type of theater that I'm so fortunate to have been a part of. So yeah, just trust that it's gonna work out, because it will.
Awesome. Okay, I see lots of hands. We're gonna do 3 more quick ones. Okay, 3 more quick ones. All right, let's go to, oh my gosh, let's go to Atticus.
Well, here's the thing, guys. It's still art. It's still theater. It's a different medium, but it's the same in essence, and it has the same beauty and community and just general magic that theater can bring. And in the absence of having open theaters, this is great. It's almost not even an alternative. It is. It's yeah. I highly recommend it.
Awesome. All right, let's see. Ray, go for it.
So I would like to say that there is no technical correct way to do virtual theater. And I think that's really important to keep in mind, because just because we might have done something a certain way doesn't mean that it can't be done a different way, because all of this is so new. No one's ever really done virtual theater before. And there's so many ways that we could have done it differently, that we could have done it better possibly, but it's a complete trial and error process, and you're not going to know the problems that you're going to run into until you just go for it and you try to make it work. And theater professionals will make it work.
Awesome. All right, Alex, bring us home. What should we know?
Okay, on an opposite note of what Ray says, Ray is entirely correct though in that, yeah, there is so much left to explore and try out, and the possibilities are endless, and things need to be tried so that we can theater people everywhere can see what works, what doesn't work. But there will always be multiple solutions. But for people interested in trying to get this to work, and not even just theater, like broadcast stuff in general, OBS is very, very helpful. I would just like to say that it's free. It's pretty easy. There's lots of tutorials online, but basically you can, all the video elements, we put them on the screen because of OBS, and it allows you to stream directly to a streaming service like Vimeo or YouTube. So if people wanted to know what software we used, the main one was OBS in order to stream and show things on screen.
Awesome. All right, I know there's lots to say, but we are going to wrap it up because of time. And if audience members listen to the whole thing, well, that's awesome. They're great. You're all great. So thank you, TOS and TBS, for your time to tell us some of the behind the scenes magic. And let's wave goodbye to our audience. Thanks for listening to us talk.